What's up, YouTube? And we have a new episode of the Dakota podcast this week. And if you're familiar with the For the Love of the Game series, well, we have another edition for you this week. We invite Dakota Twitty's father, Coach Derrick Twitty, to the show because we wanted to know a little bit more about Dakota and get his perspective on the recruiting process because he not only has a son and possibly other children going through the recruiting process, but he also, as a high school coach and a former player himself, provides a different perspective on the whole process. So, before we get going, though, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our channel and also ring the bell so that you can notified whenever there's a new video. So, with that, let's get going. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Good Old Podcast. I'm Jackie Ferranchuli for Wahoo's 24/7, and I hope all of you have been having a great week. I know I have because football is less than 50 days away, and you know what signals football season for me? ACC Media Days. Virginia head coach Tony Elliott, quarterback Brennan Armstrong, wide receiver Keaton Thompson, and linebacker Nick Jackson will be in North Carolina this week for ACC kickoff, and so will we. I will be at the media days this week and have full coverage of that on Wahoo's 24/7 later this week. So with football season coming, I felt like we needed to know a little bit more about one UVA football player. So we returned the For the Love of the Game series. If you're not familiar with what this series is, this is basically where we invite family members or friends of your favorite coach or player so we can know them better, because who else to let us know about them than those who know them best? And on this week, we are talking about freshman or first-year wide receiver Dakota Twitty. Dakota enrolled over the summer to Virginia. He committed to Bronco Mendenhall staff, but then stuck with Virginia when Tony Elliott became the coach. So we have a lot to talk about with his father, Coach Derrick Twitty, about not only that process, but really what makes Dakota tick. So without further ado, here he is, Coach Derrick Twitty, Dakota's father. Derrick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
And first off, you're not really an empty nester. You have other children at home, 3 more. But how is it knowing that Dakota's already one step closer to being a college football player in the fall?
Oh, it sends chills up my spine. I get chill bumps every time I think of it. Just knowing that he's in a better place and a place of progress is nothing but joy and blessings for me.
And you guys had such a whirlwind of a recruiting process because it wasn't a whirlwind in the beginning. Dakota knew where he wanted to go. He committed early before his season, and then the new coaches come in. How would you sum up that time of y'all's life?
Well, it really wasn't stressful because Dakota had knew where he wanted to go. He knew who he wanted to play for. He knew what school best fit him. And doing this with progress, it was COVID time. So you have to understand that everything was locked down and everything was moving differently and slowly. And to be a high school kid recruited during COVID time was very stressful. But he hung in there, he maintained his schoolwork, and he was like, Dad, I know where I want to go.
So in the end, even though there was Bronco Mendenhall left, in the end, it was about UVA. That was the reason why he committed. It was because he liked the University of Virginia.
Yes, ma'am. It was the school as much as it was the school and the football, but it was the school because in the end he said he wanted to be a sports medicine doctor, and he knew that was a great program at UVA for such. So it was more of the school, but I'm gonna give my hats off to Marcus Hagan's greatest guy I think I've met at UVA thus far, and he just made the process even simpler for her.
I was gonna say it doesn't hurt that Biscuit stayed on the staff, Coach Hagan's. So because I know that was one thing that Dakota was watching was what was gonna happen to his position coach. That must have been a relief to everyone.
Well, first of all, y'all call him Biscuit and I call him Coach Hagens, and I'm trying to understand. Like, I'm like, who is Biscuit? you know. But yes, Coach Hagens, one of the greatest guys I think I've met to date, far as in the coaching realm. His process was, we're family. I'm gonna treat you like family. And some days you're gonna be mad at me because I've told you some stuff that you probably should have heard or should hear. And Dakota was just like, that's where I want to be, Dad. Coach Hagens is one of the best to do it. And now you're looking at it where the ranking of the UVA receiver room is phenomenal. What, eighth in some polls and fourth in others. I couldn't ask for a better coach to have him coach. And then you got Tony Elliott, who's bringing in national championship coaching level. So we're very, very, very honored to be at the University of Virginia.
You had an opportunity to talk to Tony Elliott first on a Zoom call, I believe, when he first was hired, and then you were able to have an official visit. What was your impression on meeting him the first time and just have all your questions answered?
Well, being a fan of Coach Elliott, I didn't really know much of him. So I went in with an open mind. And the moment we met and we talked, I was like, wow, this guy he's got it. And his track record shows that he has that ability. But when you talk to him and understand who he really is as a person, I was even more pleased that my kid is going to the University of Virginia.
One thing I think that stood out when, during the coaching search, obviously I reached out to a lot of the commits to ask about their reaction when Bronco Mendenhall left, or when the rumors about Tony Elliott or Coach Poindexter, what was going on there. One thing that stood out about Dakota, he was very controlled. He wanted to kind of look back and look at the bigger picture and take it really slowly. He wanted to make sure he didn't have any big reactions. How proud of you are how he managed that type of stress so early, because this could have gone either way. He could have gotten a coach that he didn't like. It could have been a different outlook. So how proud of you how he approached that process?
I'm extremely proud because he said that I'm gonna go dark, meaning that I know where I'm going, but I don't want other people to try to bring influence on me that I don't want or don't need, because I'm not going to change where I'm going. Throughout this whole time, he kept in touch with Coach Hagens, behind the scenes, just communicating. And it wasn't about football at that point. It was just about, okay, we're going to get through this. Coaches change, but, things are going to get good for us. So he stayed dark. We call it dark. He just got out of it and let the cards fall where they may. And look what we got. We got Tony Elliott, which is a great acquisition to the UVA family.
Yeah, I still remember he said, "Jackie, please, I'm just gonna stay quiet for a bit, but I will send you a quote as soon as someone's hired." And I'm like, "That's fair, Dakota. That is fair. I get it. You don't." It was a hard situation for a lot of people during that time. A lot of turmoil, a lot of ifs, ands. And that brings up to my next question is, you are in a situation where you've been a college football player, you are a high school coach, you've been through the recruiting process with your son. How stressful is the recruiting process now for these high school athletes? Because, I started covering recruiting in 2013 and it has changed so much for them.
The recruiting process changing daily with the rules and when you can and when you can't talk, and with the help or the hindrance of the transfer portal. It's a lot harder for high school kids because coaches can go get a kid that, hey, this kid has played already, got some experience under his belt. I need a kid that can come in right now to help me right now. So the kids today have to understand that you have to stand out, but you can't stand out just in football or basketball or whatever your sport is. You have to stand out in a major way because you're competing with kids that have already been proven or put on a field somewhere. So, I tell each kid, remember, education is the ultimate goal. So make sure your education is right. That way everything else falls into place.
Yeah, the transfer portal brings a whole different dynamic to the world of recruiting, because I remember kids, Chris Peace, a former Virginia defensive player, he was a guy that was recruited in January and he was a sleeper in his class. Obviously, he was very successful at Virginia. I don't think he would pick up an offer in this environment right now. He was one of those underrated guys who only had a UVA offer. He committed and he did very well. That's the type of athletes who's missing out right now, I think.
Absolutely. And like I said, I try to tell these children, kids, young athletes to go to these camps, go where you're wanted, go, you know what I'm saying? And maybe Virginia's not the place for you, but go where you're wanted. And that's what kept us at Virginia, because they wanted Virginia, and Dakota's like, it's a beautiful place because we've come up and visited, and a lot of times people wouldn't even know we were there. So we would come up, visit, and get back out. But the atmosphere, the beauty of the campus, just everything, the subtleties, it made it easier for us. But every kid has to find his niche and has to go to these camps and go where they're wanted. And, a lot of times people think, well, I want to go to my dream school. Well, your dream school may not need a D lineman that year. So, go where you want it, go where you're going to get the opportunity to build, grow, and advance as a young man or young woman so that you can become a successful adult in today's world.
What do you think is the biggest misconception when you hear people talk about the recruiting process or just being a student athlete? What do you think it is?
Is no matter where I'm at, somebody can find me. And when I say that, it's because you have to give yourself an opportunity to be found. Just because, you think you're good where you're at, there's millions of other kids that are good where they're at as well. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to, and with social media, you have to understand that, one, your social media has to be spot on. And two, you have to be out there in the social media so that people can see you, and give yourself an opportunity to be seen inside of this crazy recruiting world.
And the new parts of recruiting too is trying to figure out the next step in college, which is name, image, and likeness. That's been a hot topic. I love the fact that Dakota has his own clothing apparel line already and fully taking advantage of it. How proud of you of that part of it, where he's kind of dipping his toes into the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah, I'm really proud of him. We sat down one day and we was just like, what can we do? You know what I'm saying? You want a little bit of money to go to college with, to take with you, and have some, kind of stored up in an egg's nest, and he was like, we can do this t-shirt line. I said, that sounds simple, you know what I'm saying? And he just was like, well, what can we call it, Dad? And me and him brainstormed with my brother, and my brother makes, does all the screen printing and stuff for us. So he was like, well, what do you do? He said, I run routes. Okay. Next thing you know, we're looking at a tree. We're looking at the route tree. Oh, there it is, route tree clothing. And then that's how it came about. And it was just a way to have a nest egg. So, when you come in school with the name, image, and likeness, people don't understand. Not everybody gets that name, image, and likeness. And you have to build that brand so that you can acquire such. And so many kids today are misled by the thing of, I'm going to get a name, image, and likeness deal. That's not for every kid. And every kid has to understand that you have to build your brand so that you can appeal to those who are giving out those type of deals.
Definitely a new world. It's been a year active, and it's changing every day with new things, new regulations supposedly coming in or trying
I
to.
personally think they need to get a handle on it as soon as they can, because it's so much money being thrown out to these kids. You think about it, some of these kids that may make it to the NFL, they're going to get a pay decrease when they realize that the NFL is a little bit different. Somebody throwing millions at you now, and yeah, you get millions as you get older, but then you got to think about wow, I got to pay this person, we got to pay this person, this comes out, and that goes to the the accounting part of it. You have to learn to manage your money. You have to have the right people around you. You have to have strong people or people you can honestly trust around you, and that's a big part of it, is making sure you have the right people. Um, Dakota has always surrounded himself, and me and his mother has always made sure that he's been around people that we can trust. And being a big name, I guess, in the recruiting field, you have to make your circle smaller and find people that you can honestly trust.
Yeah, these NIL deals are pretty crazy right now, competitive. And one thing I just imagine, I think the market's going to self correct. I would imagine at the end of the day, you're talking about kids that haven't even played college ball sometimes getting these NIL deals. I would imagine in like 2, 3 years, it balances itself out, kind of like what you're saying about the NFL money. Some kids are getting all this money all in one go to a particular school, but they might not develop as an athlete as much as they would want, and then see that they're not getting as much money in the NFL. So there's not that long-term money solution. That's just short-term money solution. So that's my thought. Maybe it will kind of have
I'm pretty sure it'll self-correct, and I'm sure the NCAA they're going to have to form some kind of committee and governing body to make sure that it's handled and worked correctly. Um, we're not, and when I say we're, I speak of me and Dakota. It's yeah, we think about it, but we don't push the issue of having NIL deals right now. I mean, we're early in our career. He's early in his career, and we just want to play football and get a great education. Because at the end of the day, I tell him, football is just a means to get a great education.
And you mentioned earlier too, he's got a great support system with the family. And, you, like I said earlier, you have other children at home and they're athletes themselves and quite competitive too. I imagine that's where Dakota gets his little bit of a push sometimes with that competitive siblings, like your daughter who's,
They still call and compete. They still call and compete against each other, stay in touch, and they're each other's biggest supporters. And that's what we teach in our house, that, be supportive of your family and stay strong, because one door can open the doors for others. But you have to be strong and support each other so that everybody know that we are unit. We are one unit, and that we look out for each other, and we help each other along the way, whether it's giving advice or saying, hey man, I don't think that's a good idea. We all shoot ideas off of each other's head every day.
I see Dakota sharing all of the highlight clips of his sister, who is quite the athlete herself, playing basketball, soccer, volleyball. She's 6 foot, 8th grade. Shall we be calling Coach Mox now?
Yeah, we go ahead and get her on the list. Come to a few basketball games, get her seen. It's funny because we have cousins that play football at the University of South Carolina. We have, you know, little girl cousins as well that play basketball, and everybody. And it's funny because everyone, my nieces and nephews are great athletes. So it's a small family of just freak athletes, but they're all highly educated kids. But the one thing that stands out with Brooklyn years ago, we was like, oh, she built different. She comes with a different type of attitude. Like, she's gonna be the one to make it. If nobody makes it, she'll be the one to make it, because she just, when she steps on a court, a field, it becomes a whole new person. It's a tenacity type attitude. Like, I'm gonna win this one with or without you. So if she's playing against Dakota and he's 6'6" and she's 6 foot, she's still gonna win.
So have Dakota go meet Coach Mox in her office and say, "Hey, I have this highlight tape of my sister. I think you should really watch."
My little sister, and that's part of recruiting. I used to tell kids, it's one thing you can't teach is size. Skill, we can work on skill, we can work on development, but at a young age, when you have a little sister that's 6 foot and she's 13 years old, it brings a whole different attention. to the whole meaning of recruiting.
I imagine you'll be taking a lot more recruiting visits in your near future.
Yeah, and I have a middle son as well who's 6'4", almost 6'5" himself at 14. So it's gonna be a lot. He's a little bit more quieter than everybody else, but he is also a freak in his own right. When I say freak, he makes things seem easy when he do it, but he's not the one that just want to be in the limelight. He's just laid back, low key. Once he steps on the court, it's what he does.
And then you have a young son, correct?
Yes, and boy, he is a handful. He's a ball of fire. He he's just as competitive as the others. Denver, that's my little side piece. You know what I'm saying? We run around together. He's always into something, and it's fun just to watch him grow and enjoy being children. And that's what's wrong with the world today. We push so much on our kids and try to give everything to them so early that we just need to allow them to be kids and enjoy life. Adulthood is a struggle. So just enjoy being a kid and enjoy whatever you do, whether it be football, basketball, gaming, just whatever. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, I currently my son, I can hear him from the backyard from my window. Currently, my son is mixing water with sidewalk chalk because he said that's paint now because it's liquid.
Well,
So
well, look, see, you already got an entrepreneur. Next thing you know, he's the next Benjamin Moore paint, or he got his own paint line. It's little stuff like that people don't understand. If you let them grow and use their imagination, that they the next Bill Gates, they're the next Michael Jordan, they're the next entrepreneurs. To bringing along their friends and family like LeBron, and the world is an open book. Write it how you want to.
no, that's true. And he's teaching his little sister the way. She's fascinated whatever her older brother is doing. So I imagine she's over there.
You're gonna come in one day, the face gonna be painted blue and orange, and
That's already happened.
you know what I'm saying? He making face paint, and you're like, okay, it's
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yes.
So you just allow them to just have fun, and that's what I want our kids to do is have fun, enjoy being kids. My kids has now gotten to this roller skating thing, and they love roller skating, and it's exercise. It's something other than just your run-of-the-mill type sports for basketball, football, and soccer and stuff like that. Not knowing that they're getting exercise, and they're having fun. They get to hang out with their friends. At the moment, it's a safe environment, and we try to put all our children and friends of our children in safe environments that they can have fun and enjoy being kids.
Yeah, we've let's see, my son has decided that walls are chalkboard. So that was a phase that we went through. He loves
It's a canvas.
numbers.
The world is a canvas.
Exactly. He loves numbers. So he's actually really into math. He's only 4, but he can actually do simple math. So he's been doing that on anything he can get, any paper or anything like that. And he's teaching his sister how to count to 10. That's been our big challenge for him, saying, she's 2 years old, so why don't you help her learn how to count? So he said by the end of the summer, she's going to be learning how to count to 20. That's his goal.
Hey, helping each one along. Like I said, my baby boy, he's very artistic. He can draw anything from just looking at it. He's in the Among Us characters, so he can draw the Among Us characters just by looking at them. And I'm surprised, like he has a gift that maybe art take him into the different realm, or just being able to be an artist for a comic book or things like that. So his imagination is untapped.
And one final thing before I let you go, I just wanted to ask if you had to kind of tell someone about Dakota that'll be watching him on Saturdays here, what would you want them to know about him? What would you say is what makes Dakota Dakota?
What makes Dakota Dakota? Very smart, very eager to learn. Will be the smartest person on the field because he'll study the defense. He'll understand what's in front of him. You'll see a very smart, determined, a kid who likes to win. He's not gonna brag a lot. He may dance every once in a while because we have a news crew that was down here where we live that incited him to dance, and we knew we was gonna get 15-yard penalty because he was like, "Oh, you got on TV, let's get that dance." But he's just a happy, good kid, man. And if anybody has ever had a kid like Dakota, they know that he's a special one, and I'm just proud. I know his mom is proud. We're proud as parents of just that he's a great leader. He's always going to read the room. He's always going to make the decision that's best for himself and the team. Just if you ever run across another Dakota, embrace him, cherish him, build him, teach him, and he's just going to be he's a UVA Wahoo through and through.
And since you're wearing a Virginia hat, I imagine we'll be seeing you a lot on Saturdays too, right?
You might see a lot of me. Yes, you'll see a lot of us. Like I said, we normally travel as a family. We do everything as a family. But yeah, I'll be around a lot. And like I said, I enjoy reading, like I said, 247 sports articles, not just of the football team, of everything. And then you put out, well, it's funny because before all the little singing thing went kind of viral, he had sent it to us. We was just laughing. And next thing you know, it's all over the place.
Oh man, I foresee some dancing then in the future at Scott Stadium.
It is funny because like I said, I was talking about the little viral thing. That's something Will Bridges would always do. That's his comical side, and that's what makes that class a very special class. Because one, it's a COVID class, but they all stuck together. They all stayed tight, and doing things like that little Usher challenge just shows how tight they really are and what Virginia means to them as much as what they mean to Virginia.
I will say I agree with you. That was definitely the funniest class I've ever covered in almost 10 years of recruiting. That
Oh,
that that class is certainly this class is special.
they're definitely very funny. I call them the scooter gang because when we all moved in, all of them had electric scooters. All of them got electric scooters. So,
That's funny.
they're the scooter gang, and they just have fun, and they just want to be the best that they can be at UVA and represent the University of Virginia. And that makes me feel proud as a parent that all of these guys have come from all over the United States, and they're developing something great in the University of Virginia. Coach Elliott is putting together a miraculous coaching squad. I mean, the coaching squad is second to none. But the kids that they're bringing in and competing to be not just the best in the ACC, as you can tell, the receiving corps is top in the nation, and that means a lot. Like I said, so go Wahoo! That's all I can say.
It's gonna be exciting seeing these guys. I came in and covered the beat since last August, so I got to know them for about a year now, and it's they're definitely characters. So I'm excited to see them play at Scott Stadium.
One more thing, just to let you know, Miss Jackie, the only person Dakota would talk to when all this was going on would be you. Everybody would try to get the inside scoop, and they want to hear this. He was like, "Nah," he said, "if I ain't talking to Miss Jackie, I'm nobody else is going to get the news." So
I
he
appreciate it.
respects you, and you know he's formed a relationship with you other than anybody else that's there at the time or try to come through. And that makes me feel proud that he's a loyalist. He's not going to be one to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna jump there." He's gonna stay with someone he's familiar and trust. And you covering the University of Virginia and talking to him, he trusts you to the fullest. And if you ever want to ask him anything, he tell you first.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
be see him at fall camp on August 3rd. I'm excited to see how he does with his first practice in UVA colors.
Yes, ma'am.
Again for Derrick for joining us on the show. It's always nice to hear more stories about these student athletes rather than just their stats or where we see them in the next few years or how we analyze or break down their game. It's nice to see who they are as people as well. So thanks again for Derrick for joining the show. And of course, if you like what you're hearing, subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you can go ahead, head to Apple and Spotify and review and rate us. That will be much appreciated. And of course, we will be back here next Tuesday with another episode. I can fully guarantee you we're going to have a lot of talking points from ACC Media Days. As I mentioned, we will be in North Carolina at the end of this week to talk to Coach Elliott, Brennan, Keaton, and Nick Jackson, all of which will be at Media Days. So for right now, from Derrick Twitty, I'm Jackie Franchula, and hope you have a great rest of your week.